Welcome everybody. My name is Simon from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm a 682-3 from Enagic. Been with the company for the last 8 years. I believe that for the first 50 years of the history of Enagic, you know, the Kangen machine, the Ukon, all these great products have truly changed our lives. It changed my life. It changed a lot of people's lives. Oh my God. If you meet Mr. Shiro, if you spend some time with Mr. Shiro, I've had the privilege to have a few dinners with the man himself. He is thinking long term, ladies and gentlemen. When we started Enagic, we associated Enagic with Kangen water, and that was it. And I believe every great company must have a few core products to really dominate the market. So, all right, Enagic is not Kangen machine. Enagic is a philosophy of health, of peace of mind, of financial freedom, of the great values that Mr. Ashiro is giving it. So I believe, Enagic is a company and the products are there to support the growth of the company. And I'm so excited with Emguarde because it's going to truly, truly transform the way we're going to be operating this business. At Emguarde that is pre-launching in the US, the opportunity here is people who come onto this opportunity now are the pioneers of Emguarde in the market, as simple as that. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the pre-launch phase, and the people that loves pre-launch phases are the people that wants to be the first movers of the market. I started doing Emguarde. I started marketing Emguarde, learning about Emguarde way before it was officially launched in Malaysia. And thanks to God and thanks to the efforts of my team, we became like the top three teams selling Emguarde in the whole of Malaysia. Awesome. All right, so introducing Enagic's latest patented technology called the Emguarde. And what is the Emguarde? Emguarde stands for electromagnetic guard. The moment we see people around our family, our kids, our friends and family, and what do they do on the dinner table nowadays? Or what do they do when they're on the subway? Or maybe they are taking a ride. What do they do? Everybody is on their phone. We don't talk like we used to do. We don't communicate like we used to do. Everybody's lives are on the phone. And not only that impacts the social part of our lives, it also has a lot of health impacts. And let me tell you this, phones are not the only thing that emits electromagnetic radiation. It includes most of the devices that we use today. And that's why I believe Emguarde, this amazing technology by Enagic, is going to transform the way we view things and how we protect ourselves. 30 years ago, growing up many years ago, I didn't have all these devices. I didn't have the iPads, the iPhones. I didn't have all these things. So what we had was a football, you go outside and you play. But how are kids living or growing up today? If this is common, they're glued to the phone, they're glued to the iPad, they're glued to the television. Mommy, daddy, I want to play my games. It's a serious thing. What is the differences between kids that grow up today and kids that grew up 30 years ago? Is there a huge difference? Huge difference in terms of the way they behave, concentration level, cognitive level, everything. It's so different. All right. So when we talk about electromagnetic radiation, first, you know, around the world, there are different types of pollution. For most parts of those areas that you guys are living in, you have no issues with the water. The water is clean, but it's not good. That's why you need the Kangen water, Kangen machine, number one. And the air is probably okay. Noise pollution, government normally controls it. So if you're living in a developed country in a good place, normally you don't have issues with all this kind of pollution, right? However, there is one type of pollution that I tell people, no matter you're living in the worst neighborhood, in the best neighborhood, you're going to be exposed to these type of pollution. It doesn't matter where you are. It is called electromagnetic pollution. Okay, because when you have your Wi-Fi, smart meters, all of these devices, you are exposed. And it is unique because it doesn't directly impact your senses. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it. So it is impossible to detect it without using certain equipments. Impossible. All right. However, there are about 2 to 3% of the population. We call them people with EHS, electro hypersensitivity. These are people, only 2% of the population. These are people, we call them the human detectors because they can actually go to an environment. Okay, let's say that environment has a lot of frequencies, has a lot of cell towers nearby, has a lot of 5G towers nearby. And these are the people that can actually feel it. They get a headache, they feel uncomfortable, they feel weight on their chest, they feel tightness in their veins, they feel nauseous, and they want to leave. So these are the people, in a way, blessed with this kind of senses, but they don't feel like they're blessed. But if you learn about it, they're blessed because they feel it, they go somewhere else. But the rest of us, 98%, we can't feel it, we can't sense it. But we still get the health impacts, okay, of the frequencies and the radiation. All right. Where are we getting all our radiation? Where's it coming from? Okay, it's coming from literally everything. Smartphones, televisions, induction cookers, extension cords, EV cars, your EV cars. Don't want to name the brands, but you know which brand. There are many brands, some from the West, some from China. They're growing very big, because we want to reduce reliance on oil. But the thing is, when you have an EV car, electric car, it has humongous battery packs. And when you have humongous battery packs, what do they emit? Not just the energy, but also the radiation. All right. Laptops, air conditioning, lights, microwave, and Wi-Fi routers. And this is in almost every home. Now, I'm not saying anything to badmouth any technology. It's probably great, but it's good to have some awareness about what we're exposed to. What if, we talked about radiation being invisible to the eye, invisible to the senses, but what if today, wherever that you're tuning in from, some of you guys are in your living room, and what if you can actually see the radiation coming out from your devices? What if you can actually see it? Okay, and it comes out in the form of white lines. My question to you is, if your living room looked like this, would you be at peace sitting there watching Netflix, all right, for 2 to 3 hours? Yes or no? Would you allow your a kid, to sit there and watch their favorite cartoon for 2 hours? Okay, absolutely not. Because the thing is, we will never fear what we can't see. There are some places when I go there, they say, hey, Simon, I've been using phones and all this stuff for many years. I'm fine. I'm very healthy. I've got no health challenges. So is it really that dangerous? So I always like to share credible sources of where I get my information from. And the first one I like to share is from the WHO. In 2011, 31st of May, from the IARC, International Agency for Research on Cancer. And what did they say was they've classified radiofrequency electromagnetic fields as possibly carcinogenic to humans, part of group 2B, based on the increased risk for glioma, a malignant type of brain cancer associated with wireless phone use.
How does the Emguarde work? So we know that all our devices emit different types of energy. You can test it using the detectors. That's the best way. So what does Emguarde do? So Emguarde utilizes something called multiple layering of harmonic frequencies to effectively suppress targeted electromagnetic noise radiation between a specific range. So 3 megahertz to 1,000 megahertz. And 1 mega is 1 million within a 4-meter radius system. So 4 meters is about 12 feet. Okay, so you get 12 feet radius of what do you call it? Protection, left and right. So if you talk about diameter, it is 8 meters or 24 feet, guaranteed. In fact, some of the places that we have done testing, they actually cover a more than 4 meters radius. But from Enagic, they are very conservative. As we know it, they say 4 meters. That's the guarantee. It means when the Emguarde, the technology is great in the fact that when the Emguarde is turned on, it doesn't affect your Wi-Fi, 5G connectivity. It doesn't affect the functions of your devices. It doesn't affect the regular function of your devices. And it suppresses a type of energy called electromagnetic noise radiation. So it is one of those products that you can use it every day and not compromise on something else. It's very, very important. So there was an EMF health
effect survey done in 2019, PubMed. The more you read, the more you're going to fear what we're exposed to.
So this survey was done in 2019. There was a survey done. And these people, they wanted to survey how many percent of these people attribute certain problems that they're suffering to EMF.
Surveyees say their sleeping problem is because of EMF. 89% said their fatigue is because of EMF. 94% attributes their concentration, memory, and learning problem, especially among children, to EMF. Stress and anxiety, and all these things to EMF. Research has shown that when you spend more hours on your phones and on your around devices, it does attribute to certain psychological effects. Okay. Now, Monica said, I had my best night sleep ever last night. It was her first night with her Emguarde. Congratulations. France, back in September 2023, halts iPhone 12 sales over radiation levels. Incredible, right?
For a government to issue such a not just a statement, but a action against a certain company, against a certain product, it must mean something.
You know, Apple's a big company. All right. So there are genuine concerns, and manufacturers are under scrutiny to make sure that radiation levels do not exceed a certain exposure limit. But let me ask you this question. Even if they operate within the exposure limit, but the thing is, the amount of time we spend on our devices and the amount of time we expose ourselves really makes the exposure limit non-existent. You know why? Because we're not supposed to be using it so much. Okay, and let me share with you something. So if you have your iPhone, okay, if you have an iPhone, can everybody go to settings, then go to your general? All the way down, you would see something called legal and regulatory. Click on that. And then you will see the fourth one, the fourth button called RF exposure. And read it when you have time. But what you will see in that notice is even Apple themselves say in their exclusion legal clause, to reduce exposure to RF energy, please use a hands-free option such as built-in speakerphone, which means Apple is telling you to reduce exposure, speak on the phone like this. Yeah, not like this and like this. Or headphones or other similar accessories.
How do we know how much radiation is coming from this and that, and how do we actually test it? So the first thing we use is the RD9300, which in fact, when you have your phone in your room, the frequencies from your phone travels from 3 feet all the way to 10 feet. Okay? So it doesn't mean that it has to be next to your ear for you to get affected. So that's a very important point that you guys need to understand. Okay? So this was a chart that we extracted from the FCC. FCC is from you guys, it's from the US, and they govern all electronic products. And they say that long-term exposure to RF devices, right? RF devices means anything that has frequencies. If it emits 0 to 200 microwatts, it is at its acceptable range. But anything above 200, 1,000, 2,000, it is actually above the limit based on the FCC exposure
Safety limit. That is the link.
In front of me, I have the regular devices that I use every single day. Now, with the help of a special tool, we're able to find out exactly how much radiation is coming out of these devices. Now notice, anything above 200 is considered high levels of radiation. So let's turn it on. I'm going to put it next to the laptop, and as you can see, the reading is well above 200. These are for your laptops. Now I'm going to come over here to the tablets, which I use every single day. And here we have with me my phone. Let's take a look. Now just imagine the harm you could be doing to your body when you pick up the phone and you start talking on the phone while it's next to your ears. Now, knowing all this, you should definitely consider reducing the usage, especially among children. But let's be real, in the world that we live in today, it is almost impossible to live without these devices. Now, those of you like me who use wireless earpods regularly to speak on the phone or listen to music while you're having a jog, you have to see this. Now, when I flip it open, it shows a reading on the detector. But the moment I put them onto my ears, let's check it out. Take a look at that. The reading coming off while it's being connected to my ears and to my phone is significantly higher. All right. Now, I know that some of you have already decided to reduce the usage of these devices. But let me show you something. Now, in an environment like this, looking peaceful and balanced, however, there are actually still fundamental radiation that lurks around. Introducing Emguarde, a patented technology by Enagic. When turned on, Emguarde harmonizes targeted electromagnetic noise radiation within 1000 MHz, creating a defense zone of 8 meters. Simply place it at a suitable area and plug it into a dedicated 5V 2 to 6A output power source.
Great. Okay, so this is the Emguarde, ladies and gentlemen. Just a quick product spec. It harmonizes the radiation up to 1000. We discussed that with the 8-meter coverage, designed to reduce negative effects of electromagnetic waves and ensuring a safe and harmonious environment. Yeah, this is a very, very important video, especially for those of you who have kids at home, those of you who have young kids. And I think you need to hear this because it's by a very popular doctor here in Malaysia, and he knows he's a health expert. He's into integrative medicine, functional integrative medicine, and he talks about how radiation affects kids much more than adults. So let's hear it out from
The children's brain, like the hypothalamus, it tends to absorb 1.5 to 2 times more electromagnetic fields than an adult. But if you look at the child's bone marrow, it absorbs an amazing 10 times more electromagnetic radiation than an adult. The brain is much more absorbent, the skull is thinner, and because the relative size is smaller, if I give you the same dosage, your smaller tissue is going to absorb more than the bigger tissue. The first thing you have to do is keep the appliance that's emitting the radiation further apart from you, like handphones. Off all power points when they're not in use. Number 3, you could use electromagnetic field harmonizers, which will balance out the radiation side effects from the appliance.
To talk about why we should protect the kids. Yeah, actually means is we absorb a lot of the energy, radiation energy, coming out from our devices when they're in 30 to 300 megahertz, and that's bad news. It came out in 1997. So 30 to 300 is the most sensitive or vulnerable range, all right, that our body absorbs. And the reason for that is, you see, the organs, our organs also have a operating frequency where we vibrate at. So our whole body vibrates at a certain frequency. And this is actually a frequency table of body organs. And they talk about what is the frequency of each of our organ. So the most important organs, so we have the brain, the body, the heart, the liver, the pancreas. And you can see most of this frequency, they're in between 55 megahertz, and the highest is at 90 megahertz. So the brain frequency ranges from 72 to 90. Now, if you're Albert Einstein, probably you're at 90. They vibrate at a higher level. That's why they're smart. So normal people like me probably have 72. Okay, so you can see that our body's frequency is between 55 to 90. And one way you can actually find this out is go into a hospital and check out what they use for MRI. MRI literally means resonance, because when you have resonance, they actually use the same frequency onto your body to print out a copy of your organs and how your body looks like on the inside. They match the vibration energy of your organs. So let me ask everybody a question. Okay, which is the most important organ in the body? Okay, so the brain is the most important thing because it is the main organ that regulates the whole body, the way we sleep, you know, the what do you call melatonin production that helps people sleep, everything, your hormones, your mood, everything is regulated by the brain. So the 72 megahertz is one of the most important frequencies we talk about. And I'm going to show you a video that explains what is co-resonance. This guy, teacher-looking guy, and he's using 2 tuning forks to show an experiment called co-frequency resonance. So the first fork, when you hit it, it sends out 512 hertz of frequency. The other fork's at 440. So if you look at the first experiment, when they are not in the same frequency, they're not in sync, nothing happens. But the moment they are in sync because they use the same frequency, okay, it literally vibrates the other side without touching it. So this explains to a lot of people. Just because you're not touching your phone doesn't mean it's not affecting you, because frequencies travel. And when you have matching frequency, they call it resonance. That's what they use in MRIs. It leads to increase of vibration. And that is bad news.
So one of the ways that you guys can start immediately today, those of you that don't have your RD, and those of you who want a third-party tool, the keyword is third-party, because the next tool I'm going to introduce to you is a tool powerful enough to show you what is the electromagnetic noise level in your environment, and you can actually measure it. How high is it, and how can Emguard actually suppress it? It's called the SDR Touch application. Unfortunately, it's only on Android, it's not on Apple. So what I did was I had to buy a Samsung phone. It's a video. This is called the SDR that I shot with David many months ago in Hong Kong, where they were already using 5G. And it was in a hotel room. And the story was like this. When we walked into the room, we felt like it feels a little bit different from the other rooms. And we realized that because this room is directly facing outside, very near all the 5G and cell towers, the other rooms were facing on the inside. So it's not that bad. So we immediately whipped out all our tools and we wanted to do some testing. And the first thing we whipped out was the RD and the second one was the SDR. So let's take a look. This is called the SDR software, and it's gonna actually detect the electromagnetic interference in this area. So what David's gonna do now, he's going to actually turn on the software. You can download this software on your Android phone. You just have to pay a couple dollars, you get the software. So I want you guys to see. Just zoom in on the phone, Ben. You can just take a look at this. I don't know if you guys can hear it. So the software is connected to a dongle that connects to an antenna, and the antenna is receiving the interference around this room. It's unbelievable. Take a look at the chart. It is crazy, absolutely crazy. Take a look at it. I've not seen this anywhere else. Okay. So now what we want to find out is if we have the Emguarde, what can it do to us and what can it do for us? So it's not connected. Now I'm gonna put next to the SDR software. I'm gonna turn it on. In 3, 2, 1. Look at the wave spectrum, it's gone down. I'm gonna unplug the Emguarde. Alright, take a look at the suppression, guys. Here, take a look at the suppression. Boom, with the Emguarde turned on. If you guys are watching this, I want you guys to bring... Alright, so I'm gonna bring you guys to a specific scene. Can you see on the y-axis, means on the vertical bar, there is 4074 megahertz on the top, okay? Now this app needs to be tuned. And in this scenario, we actually tune it to 72 megahertz. But what you see there, 4074 is the decimals. 72 point number 4074 megahertz. So it was tuned to 72 point something. All right. So what we did was we tuned to the frequency that matches the brain, and that is the pollution level in that room. It was incredible. It was one of the first few times I saw that tool. I was using the RD most of the time, but when I went to Hong Kong and David had the tool with him and I said, let's whip it out and let's see. And I was like, it's crazy.
So the room was very clean. Everything was good. But when you whip out the app, you truly see how polluted your environment is. All these online, Enagic doesn't sell it. It's from third party. So just maybe put it on eBay or Amazon. You'll probably find some people selling it.
And what I love about this detector is it has a big screen and it's very easy to set up and use. It's not affected by static interference, and it also has a loudspeaker for you to use during an Emguarde demo. And once it's turned on, the first thing you can see is this waterfall spectrum that comes down. And what you will notice is I've actually tuned the Baje to 72 megahertz because that is the operating frequency of our brain. And you would notice the noise radiation level here via the dB scale. All right. And these are all the data of the noise radiation. So I'm also going to turn on the speaker for you guys to hear. All right, and in the count of 3, David is going to turn on the Emguarde, and I want you guys to see the difference. In 3, 2, 1, go. Take a look at that. All right, so what you would notice is instantly the dB scale noise level has reduced, and the green color wave spectrum has already been cleared to a very dark blue color, which means this area is cleared off of the noise interference. All right, so let's do another test. Let's pull out the Emguarde again, turn it off, and you would see everything comes back instantly. And now with the Emguarde turned on again, you would see instantly the results. So this is simply amazing, right? Now the Baje is able to really showcase what the brain and our organs are going through every single day, and it's able to convert something that is invisible into something that we can see and experience. All right, so this is the short demo for the Baje SDR detector.
And Dr. Magda,
which is a very, very important figure in the field of radiation in Canada. She's actually Canadian. Look her up, Magda Harvest, and she's a Canadian researcher and professor. She researches and teaches in areas of environmental and health effects of electromagnetic pollution. And she wants to find out exactly the biological effects of electromagnetic radiation on our body. Now, we can talk about frequency. We can talk about the waves. You can see the waves going up and with the Emguarde going down. But at the end of the day, how does it affect us?
And how does Emguarde help us? That is the most important question.
He says there is something called rouleau formation, R-O-U-L-E-A-U-X. It's a French word, rouleau formation. That is when your blood cells clump together, right? In fact, in a healthy red blood cell in a clean EMI environment, in the bottom, it looks something like this. Your blood cells are supposed to be free-flowing, active, okay? But the moment we expose ourselves to about 70 minutes of computer usage, the rouleau formation comes and your blood cells starts to stick together. 10 minutes on your wireless mobile phone, the rouleau formation gets even worse. My question to you is this: when your blood comes and stick together, is that good news or bad news? Type that in the chat box.
We don't want it to stick. Why? The moment your blood cells start to stack one on top of each other, the surface area of the oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange reduces because it's stacking. And that happens when you use it on your computer and your phone. And according to Dr. Magda, this is the same type of blood formation. They call it sticky blood in a diabetic or cancer patient. Now, I'm a perfectly healthy human being, but the thing is, I can get this type of blood formation by overusing my devices. And a simple way that you can detect it is, who here you like to probably watch YouTube videos or whatever, TikTok, Instagram on your phone, and the moment you use it for a long time, what happens to your fingertips? What happens? It starts to numb. All right, it starts to numb. And that is because the rouleau formation has started to form on your fingertips. And it happens on your fingertips, it happens on your eyes, it happens on your whole body. So what happens is poor circulation, low oxygen transport, reduced waste removal, headache, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, numbness, tingling, and cold extremities. All right. And I want you guys to see this incredible experiment that I did in Malaysia with my team. I did it for about 30 people. This was absolutely insane. Now, this was 20 minutes after mobile phone usage on the left, before the Emguard. The subject, he was a male in his late 60s, no health challenges, very healthy. And 20 minutes by using his phone, he was on the YouTube. And this was his blood formation when the doctor took out the blood. And on the right side is he continues to use his phone for 20 minutes with the YouTube on, same controlled experiment, but with the Emguard turned on. Is that incredible? Are the people that you will see a huge difference? People who spend a lot of time on the computer, people who work in the office in a 9 to 5, where they are in a computer, when they have phones, when they are blasted with LED lights, air conditioning the whole day, you would see the huge difference before and after Emguard. And people that you will see lesser difference are people who are more active and people who drinks a lot of Kangen water, less, but still it's there. And don't install the Emguard directly on the floor, because sometimes you don't know what is beneath your floor. It
could be carpet, which stores static. If it's wood, below it could have cables. It could have certain things that affects the Emguard. So we always advise people to put the Emguard on the box. That is the best.
Okay. So where do you need to put the Emguard? You need the Emguard in your home office. Very important. You spend a lot of time in your office, your living room, your bedroom, your work office, restaurant, workroom, car, vehicle, and most importantly, kids' room, because kids' room, nowadays, you have air conditioning, you have baby monitors, you have certain things inside that emits radiation. And we heard about how kids actually absorb a lot more of it. So that is the Emguard, ladies and gentlemen. There's a new tagline that came out. It's called Change Your Environment, Change Your Life. We know for Kangen, change your water, change your life, change your environment, change your life.
Hello, Enagic family from the US. And my name is David, and I'm actually the product specialist for the Emguard project. First of all, let me just give you a brief introduction about myself. I've been working very closely with the Emguard developer for the past 6.5 years. All right, very fortunate. And before Enagic decided to take over the tech and to actually market it globally, you know. Now, a bit about myself, why I spent 6.5 years researching into this topic, radiation. And it's actually because of one very personal story of myself. And I lost my mom when I was a little child. Back then I was only 5 years old. And we used to live very close to this power station, you know, in Malaysia. And I've always been having this thought that could it be the radiation, you know, from this power station or the power lines nearby. And as I grew up, I did lots of research, and I found out that there is actually a lot of documentation talking about this topic, and later on, hence leading to my interest to dig deeper into this radiation topics. Okay, so how does Emguard actually works in a more technical way? Okay, something that your ears cannot hear, but through devices like this, it is able to pick up the radiation. Now, when you turn on the Emguard utilizes specific targeted harmonics frequencies to suppress targeted unwanted radiation from the background. Let me show to you what I mean. Okay, so obviously when you look at this two example, there is a very substantial suppression, from the chart itself. Later on, I will be explaining to you more during the laboratory test report. Okay, so this is how it works. Emguarde utilizes harmonic frequencies to effectively suppress targeted electromagnetic noise radiation between 3 to 1000 megahertz. Okay, now when we say between 3 to 1000, it is not the entire frequency spectrum. All right, it is targeted. All right, targeted. Now, which frequencies are the developers targeting? Let me show it to you in a clearer picture. A particular paragraph in the patent that says like this. It can therefore be summarized that the invention can effectively suppress the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation on microcirculation from either handheld cellular device or computers connected to wireless networks. Okay, so this is a very powerful statement, and in the patent itself, you can see that there are certain tests that they did, to the microcirculation of the finger from the test subject, and obviously there is a vast improvement after turning on the Emguarde technology. Now, how Emguarde actually suppresses the radiation, all right, using this specific tools that we're using here. All right, let's watch the video before I proceed further.
In this section of the video, I'm going to show you how Emguarde has the ability to alleviate the radiation from this LED light bulb 4 meters away from this antenna. Okay, so now, first of all, I'd like you to see the screen. From the software itself, everything is clear before I turn on the LED. Now, as soon as I turn on the LED, as you can see, you can actually see that the noise field from the EM radiation comes back, and it's actually showing in this blue curvy line. Okay, so now, I'm going to invite my team to take this Emguarde away from me for about 4 meters, okay, in radius. Okay, now I'm going to invite my team to power on the Emguarde. Just plug the USB-C, leave it on the table. Now, as soon as the Emguarde's on, as you can see, the frequency spectrum from the SDR software has been cleared away. Okay, now as soon as I unpower the Emguarde, please remove the power line from the Emguarde, just unplug. Wait for about 2 to 3 seconds. The radiation from the LED comes back immediately. Now let's do another control test by powering up the Emguarde again. Please put the USB-C power cable into the Emguarde. There you go. And immediately, as you can see, everything is cleared away. And this is to show you that Emguarde works effectively 4 meters away from this antenna.
All right, and of course, Emguarde again is an innovative product. It is very new in the market, and this reason why we also need a very specific tools to actually see this. And for those people who want this as well. Now, the report came out on the 10th of July.
It's the latest report, and in this report, it is actually tested in the University of Science of Malaysia by Dr. Yen Man Fai, and Dr. Yen Man Fai is a 4 PhD holder. Okay, so the test title is the effective range of radio frequency white noise suppression of electromagnetic radiation harmonizer. And in this particular test, the objective is to evaluate, how far can the Emguarde harmonizes the environment in the range of 1 meter all the way to 6 meters in radius. Now, I'd like to make a very important point here, because Enagic, being a Japanese company, they are very conservative. So they're telling all the users that Emguarde is actually able to cover up to 4 meters in radius. But for the matter of fact, in the laboratory testing, they're actually putting Emguarde into tests, and it is all the way up to at least 6 meters all in radius. And let me show you some of the data, captured in the test. So this is a specific test they did, at 71 megahertz and 73, because this is actually the frequencies within the operating frequencies of the brain. And from the left-hand side, these are the environment tested, by the PhD doctor, and of course, all of his subordinates as well. So they're testing the Emguarde in the residential space, they're testing the Emguarde in the working offices, and of course, laboratory in different settings. And of course, the first column you see here is Emguarde off. So when the Emguarde is off, this is the actual decibel captured in the environment using a very specific tools. Okay, and the Emguarde is on, so they actually collect data starting from 1 meter radius all the way up to 6 meters in radius. And I want you to take a look at the percentages of suppression for residential space. Okay, now the suppression percentages, it's averaging beyond 90%. If you notice, all the way from 1 meter all the way up to 6 meters in radius. And this is actually a documentation to confirm that Emguarde is able to harmonize the environment at least up to 6 meters in radius. Okay, now further on, there are more data from the report that you can read it, during your free time. Okay, I'll be sending all this to you. So these are all the different data captured in different environment, different spaces as well. And these are the setups. And a quick conclusion from the report. The Emguarde electromagnetic noise radiation harmonizer successfully reduced unwanted electromagnetic noise wave between all these targeted frequencies. And these are the frequencies, again, made mention in the patent as well.
I know Enagic has been in America for the last 20 years. So my question to everybody, which I would love for you to participate, is what if you knew about Enagic more than 20 years ago, and you knew about Kangen water before anybody in Canada and the US know about it? Would your life be very different today if you knew about it a long time ago? So the thing is this, I would have loved to be in that position. Of course, everybody. But the thing is, we don't have a time machine. I don't think any of you have this in your garage, right? I don't have one. So we can't go back in the past. So what occurred to me was when I saw Emguarde for the first time 1.5 years ago, when I saw it, I was like, I may not be the first to know about Kangen in Malaysia, but I can be the first person that bring this Emguarde to the next level in my country and other countries that I'm involved in. So I can choose to become the pioneer today because the Emguarde, when I saw the Emguarde, it is my time machine. Okay. And more importantly, for me, it is a demo-able product. Just now, a lot of you asked the question, what is the difference, which David covered? What is the difference between Emguarde and the other anti-radiation? I put open and inverted corner, anti-radiation products in the market. What is the main difference? The main difference is Emguarde is the only product that I have seen that is able to be demoed. I created the word called demo-able. Most of these products in the market, go do your research. There's some from Germany, some from the US, not many, few. You can't do any demonstrations. All you need to do is to rely on their brochures and their websites. What does the product do? And how do you see what the product does? You don't know. Okay? So this is a powerful, powerful, powerful point of the Emguarde. All right? It is a demo-able product. And one of my favorite things, about 1.5 years ago, started in Asia, then Europe, then now US, 1.5 years ago. Okay, coming back here. Lower entry cost to bring in new network marketers into the business, leading to more Kangen machine sales. Now, I don't know about you guys in the West. You guys probably make a lot more money than us here. You know, our income level in most parts of Southeast Asia, is not the highest, it's not bad, but people don't make a lot of money here. And a lot of us have a challenge that a lot of people can't come into the business at the price of a SD501 or a K8. So when Emguarde was launched here, the first thing I did was I went back to all the people that couldn't come into the Kangen business, and they came in with the Emguarde because it is a level that they can come into the business. And I believe the most important thing is to get people to get started. Because once they get started, once they make enough money from the business, buying a K8, buying an SD501 is not a problem. All right, welcome back to another training video. Simon here, and today we're going to talk about a very important exercise, a very important protocol. Before we start, let's understand that in continuation from the 8-point training video, you know, we have the Emguarde, the K8, and the Kangen Wukon. All right, now we know that the flagship product of Enagic, the highest ticket product is the K8, you know, so this chart actually says that the retail and commission values, what I'm using here is a global average price in US dollars. This does not represent Enagic USA selling price and commission. You have to check with your local branch for the local prices and commission. So this is just an average. So you could be in US, Canada, Dubai, India, wherever you're watching this from, Asia, Southeast Asia. Always go and get the price list and the commission list from your local branch. But we're going to use US dollars for this training. So we know that the Wukon Sigma retails for about $2,200. 8A commission is $800 and 1A is $100. The K8 machine retails for $5,480. 8A commission is $2,800 and 1A commission is at $350. And the Emguarde is retailing for $1,480. 8A commission at $640, 1A commission at $80. Okay, so for this 4 categories protocol, you can do it for the K8, you can do it for the Emguarde, but for the purpose of the exercise, I'm gonna use Emguarde because it is the lower ticket of all the high ticket items, and still this exercise is gonna show people how lucrative this business can be. So we're gonna use Emguarde's 1A $80 commission for this exercise. Okay. Now the 4 cats, or we call it 4 cats for short, 4 categories of customers. So in this exercise, we want to explain to people that, look, in this business, you're going to have 4 different categories of customers. And then we split the the paper or the screen into a couple columns and rows, sales per month and sales per year. So first of all, let's explain the different types of different categories of customers. The first category is what we call an end user. So the end user is somebody that just loves the machine, has no interest in the 8-point commission, just want to use the Emguarde or drink the Kangen water. Okay? And by the way, a fun fact, 90%, more than 90% of all the 2 million plus sales done in Enagic, 90% of them are to end users. Fun fact, which means that gives me a lot of confidence, which means when people would be buying these machines, whether there is commission to be paid or not, whether there's a business or not. So that's very, very powerful. And the second one is what we call part-timers. So what are part-timers? Part-timers are people that perhaps they already have a full-time 9 to 5 job, but they want to get out of that 9 to 5 rat race. They want to get out and be financially free, or they're already running a business and they want to do Enagic as their secondary business. So part-timers are serious and committed in the business. And then you have people who are full-timers. And full-timers are people that are doing it full-time. This is their bread and butter. This is where, they are going all out. Everyday demos, meetings, Zooms. They're growing this business and making incredible income. And in between end user and part-timers, you will be meeting these people in your organization as well. It is inevitable. I call them your sometimers. All right. So sometimers are people that come into the business and they do this business once in a while, whenever they have time. Let's say every week they do a meeting on online, or they invite some friends to their home or something like that, right? So you will be meeting these people. And I think it's important for us to set that expectation onto our prospects and to also do something subconsciously to let them know that sometimers don't make a lot of money and you want to at least be a part-timer. So it's subconsciously framing your prospects' minds that if you're going to come into Enagic, at least you need to be a part-timer. Not a sometimer, not an end user, at least a part-timer, and transition over to a full-timer. Okay, so let's look at the exercise. So the first thing we ask is, for an end user, let's talk about the Emguarde. How many Emguardes would a home normally buy? So you want to ask the prospect that. So the prospect may say, they could buy 2, 3, 4, 5, a couple Emguardes. And I said, let's say just to be conservative, they buy 1 unit. They start with 1 unit. And they don't know anything about the 8A commission, but they use the Emguarde, they're sleeping better, their mood is changing, their physiology is changing, they're feeling better, their blood circulation, the rouleau formation is gone, they're concentrating a lot better, they're getting better energy. What do you think your happy end user is going to do? So what do you think they'll say? They'll say, okay, you're going to get a lot of referral sales, right? So you're going to get a lot of referral sales. And the question is, how many referral sales can you get from a happy customer in the span of a year? So ask that question so they can give you any kind of number, 10, 20, whatever, right? So write it down. Okay, well, let's say it's 10. Okay. And then now go to your sometimer. So sometimer, remember, they are more than an end user. So why do I want to say that? So that they don't give me numbers lower than an end user. Because sometimers, they are more than an end user. They know about the 8-point commission. They know about the compensation plan. And they do meetings, let's say once or twice a week. Okay. So how many units can they sell in a year? Okay, they could sell 2 a month, 3 a month, or whatever. And let's be conservative and say 1 a month. So that leaves us with 12 sales a year. Okay. And now going to the more serious people. Now it's very important. It's very, very important to make a distinction between the part-timer and the sometimer. Because sometimers, they are not serious. They're not committed. The part-timer, what differentiates? And this is something that you have to tell to your prospect, to your downline that you're presenting this to, that a part-timer is somebody that is serious and committed in the Enagic business, growing this business. Every day they spend 2 hours on the business. Weekends, they're just full on onto the business, growing it online and offline. How many direct sales, keyword, direct sales per month? So now we're looking at the monthly sales, because serious distributors, they have to look at their monthly sales. Okay. And they do in this business for the Emguarde. So they could say 10, 20, 5, whatever number it is. And let's say we take the lower one, whatever people say, we say 3. Okay. And how many can a full-timer do? So they could be saying 10, 20, 30. And let's say we take 6. So it's always good to be conservative with this exercise, because even by being conservative, this business and the 8-point commission is still insane. Okay, so if we take 3 sales per month into 12 months, so you can see I'm going over to the next part, sales per year, and I multiply it by 12 months. So if you take 3 times 12, the number is 36. However, to be conservative, this is what we like to do. We cut down the 3 sales to, let's say, 1 sale a month, because you have to understand that in this business, it's all about managing the expectation of our new members. A lot of people join this business and they say, oh, it's very easy. You go out, you talk to 10 people. I'm sure everybody would buy. You're setting the wrong expectation. Now, what we like to do in our organization, in our team, is we want to underpromise and overdeliver. So 3 is a very low number, even, but we're going to cut it down to 1. So if you talk about 1 sale in 12 months, it is only 12 sales. And let's say for the full-timer, 6 sales, pretty low. We cut it down by half and we talk about 3 sales a month. Okay? And that takes us to 12 months, 36 sales. So how much commission would you be overriding on these 12 and 36 sales? Now that depends. That depends whether these part-timers and full-timers, are they under your 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A? Of course, in the perfect world, we want everybody to be under our 6A line because that's where we override the maximum commission. Okay? The thing is, on your journey from 1A to 6A, you're going to be sponsoring people under your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even 6. So there will be a mixture of lanes in your organization, which you'll be overriding different amount of commission. So ask your prospect, which lane would you want me to place both of them? So some of them may say, okay, let me do in the middle, 3A or 4A or 5A. So we like to be conservative and just say, let's just take a 2A. 1A is not possible. Why? Because you're going to have multiple lanes, and definitely the average is going to be higher than 1A. So the minimum we're going to take is 2A. So 2A, we're talking about $160, right? Because Emguarde, 1A is $80. So for this exercise, if it's a K8, 1A is $350, 2A is $700. So this exercise gets really exciting when you do it, even for the K8. Okay, but take a look at the Emguarde. 2A for your full-timer, $160. So if you multiply, so next step is you multiply 12 sales in a year times $160. That's where you get $1,920 overriding commissions on your part-timers direct sales. Remember, $1,920 is your overriding commission on your part-timers direct sales. It is not your direct commission. It is not your direct commission. Okay? Remember that. This exercise is about bringing in the part-timers. When they sell 12 direct sales, how much do you override? Remember that. Same thing for full-timers. When they do 36, every unit 160, that is $5,760. So let's pause right there. Okay? So once again, okay? What are these numbers? This is when your part-timer sells 12 direct sales a month and 12 in a year, and full-timers does 36 in a year. Now, the next question we have to ask is a very important question is, we know from understanding the 8-point commission is, which sales are going to be more in your organization? Is it your direct sales or is it your indirect sales? Take a look at the camera right now. I would normally like to ask people, whether I'm doing this on a Zoom or I'm doing this on a live presentation, which will be more in your organization, your direct sales or your indirect sales? So can you see what I'm doing? I'm showing them that, look, indirect is going to be a lot more. So don't tell me it's going to be 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. It's going to be a lot more. They say, oh yeah, it's going to be a lot more, right? So how many times more? People can say 5 times, 10 times, even 100 times more, which is possible, right? In fact, in my organization, it is much more than 100 times. But again, we want to keep it conservative. Okay? So they would say 1-to-5, 1-to-10, or whatever. So if the indirect sales is 10 times more than the direct sales, does that mean the indirect commissions that could come from your part-timer would be 10 times more than the direct sales commission? Answer is yes, because remember, the direct to indirect commission value is the same. If you're getting 160 as a direct commission, indirect commission is also 160. So if that's the case of 10 times, that means the indirect commission is $19,200. But again, we're going to cut it down. We're not going to take 10 times. Let's say you had a slow start. Again, manage expectation. Let's say it's 1-to-2.
So it's $3,840 rather than 19K. Okay. So 1 to 2. Very low. So let's say the same thing for your full-timers. Normally, the full-timers will be duplicating a lot more and a lot faster. But again, be conservative. So that gives us $11,520. Okay. So what do we have? We total up these two numbers. Okay. So for the part-timers, you get $5,760. And for the full-timer, it is $12,280. Right? In green color. So colors are very important. Colors are very important. So you can see in this chart or in this exercise, we use different colors to convey different meanings. And the next very, very important question is, if you are doing this business under the assumption that your prospect is doing this business seriously and committed, 12 months with our team, with our systems, with our support, serious and committed, how many part-timers can they bring into this business? So you ask your prospect this question, how many part-timers? They say, oh, maybe I can bring 10, I can bring 20 in the next 1 year. So I said, let's say you bring 5. All right. And these 5 people, they're not superstars. They're not selling 100 sales. They're not doing 100 sales a month or what, but they're doing 1 sale a month under your 2A line with a 1 to 2 direct to indirect ratio. That part-timer generates you $5,760. So what happens when you have 5 of them working in your organization? You multiply the number. And that gives you $28,800 US. And how many full-timers can you bring in? So they may say, oh, full-timers may be a little bit lesser, but we want to find quality people. Let's say I can bring 5 or 3, whatever number is, let's say you take 2. Let's say you have 2 people in your full-timers, and that's $24,560. Now, because this training video, I've made it all into a PowerPoint slide, but when you're doing it, when you master it, what you want to do is to do it live on a piece of paper or on your iPad where you can share screen on the screen. And whatever the numbers that your prospect wants to put in, you put it in. And remember to be conservative. But even with these conservative numbers, if you total these two up, are you not looking at a total income by bringing in 5 part-timers that does 1 sale a month under a 2A, 1 to 2 direct to indirect, and 2 full-timers, 3 sales a month, 2A, 1 to 2 direct indirect, total up the commission, you're looking at clean commission profit of $53,360. And what was your investment to start the business? 1 Emguarde, 1 K8, or whatever, 1 product. Now, can this number go up? Absolutely. What if you have 2 accounts, which we will talk in our strategy video? You would take this number, multiply by 2. Am I right? So that's where the excitement begins. And this is on 1 account, $53,000. This is what I tell people. This is your worst case scenario in this business. Look at the number of sales. You told me 3 sales a month, 6 sales a month. I said 1 and 3. You told me 4A, I said 2A. You said 1 to 10, I said 1 to 2. So again, it is about showing to people that even by being conservative, we can hit these numbers. But it doesn't mean they could be lackluster and slow down. No, it means that they still have to put in 100% effort, go out there and achieve much more than these results. Be able to help people have a head start in the business by showing them what is possible. All right, share this video, share it with your team, and I'll see you guys at the next video. I hope you guys got a lot of value from this one, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye for now.